Hello, everybody. It's the old bear from the old bear's den of Bigfoot. Tonight, we got a special show for you. That's why we're doing it on a Saturday evening, and we're not doing it on Friday. So, this is a special show. It's the strange encounters of Teen Peak. So, let's get started with the intro. Hold your ears, people. Here we go. All right, I want to say hello to some of the people in the chat room. Hello, Sharon, Neil, Steve. Glad to have you all here. So, without further ado, people, we're going to get Teen Peak on here, and we'll get right into it. I hope you enjoy this one.
Hey.
Oh, Don and Celeste, how are y'all tonight?
We're doing great.
How are you?
Oh, I have had an eventful day at a car lot.
Oh, yay.
Always fun,
Yeah,
enlightening.
yeah. Enlightening to just say the heck with it and walk out. Yeah, I'd have been better off to do that.
Yeah.
But tonight's show is about the strange encounters y'all have had here in the, when you've been out bigfooting. So if y'all have chosen which one wants to start with that, let's go there.
Okay.
Dun, dun.
All right. Well, like Celeste says, what we do is we just follow the evidence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these things that we've run into were totally we were surprised by. Okay.
Unexpected.
Right.
Okay. One of the things was we were in an area that was a wildlife refuge, and we found a deer that looked like it had been literally cut in half.
It was a fawn, and it literally looked like something just went zip.
Yeah. No blood, no nothing.
No guts.
No guts, no bones. Okay.
Well, I had the leg.
Well, the leg. And the thing is, nothing would touch it. Bugs, buzzards, animals, nothing would scavenge on it because we went back.
Mm-hmm.
And same area, not what, about 200 yards away.
Yeah.
There we found, which we photographed. We found a tree that was upside down in the ground. Okay, and took pictures. We took a picture, and in the picture was these orbs,
Daylight orbs,
which we posted. Okay, and
they didn't show up anywhere else, so it wasn't bugs, and it wasn't anything on the camera. There's like 5 of them, I think, in the picture, and they're different colors.
Yeah.
And it's like, we just like, there was nothing there, and we took other pictures, and there's no bugs, there's nothing on the camera, and that's all we could. And in fact, we showed it to a photographer that's an expert, and he's like, the only thing I can say that those are orbs.
One of my best friends, the guy that worked for me, is a retired police photo video analyst. And where you'd have to analyze these things and go to court over it and all that sort of business.
Right.
And he said he couldn't explain them. He said that they looked like other pictures of orbs that people have taken have photographed of
Right.
that, and another time, we, um, well, we were investigating reports of a little person biting the hand of a camper.
So what happened is she was on this trail, and it's not a real long trail, and she saw a hole in the bottom of the tree.
There was two of them. There was two women.
Yeah, two women. Well, I mean, but the one that got bit.
Yeah.
And so she stuck the stick in the hole of the tree and, spun it around, like knock everybody home. So on this trail, there's a bench. So they sat down on the bench to rest, and she got bit by something, and she jumped and looked, and there was a little person running off into the woods laughing. So we were told this story, and we were asked to go corroborate it. The tree is there, the bench is there, and we have found little shelves on the hillside all over the place on this particular trail. And it literally looks like somebody built a berm on the hillside so they could sit and watch. And so it's about the length of me, because I went up and laid down in one of them. We did a bit of that too. And I don't know what they're for, but it's wherever we have seen little people, we see these berms on the hillside, or holes.
They look like little trenches, like.
Yeah, or holes.
Okay.
In a hillside. So we corroborate the story that yes, those things are there. And we sat on the bench for a while, and and then everything went quiet. No birds, no bugs,
squirrels,
nothing was moving. And we're like, okay, would they do this for little people? Usually we've had this experience if Bigfoot walks in the area,
Right.
So we are near a known Bigfoot area. Okay, we are.
Okay.
So we decide we're going to camp. There's a river camping area in this particular area also.
But it's across the river.
No, not. It's across the road.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
The other thing is across the river.
Right.
We've had like experiences with little people all over the place. So, and all right, in the middle of the night, we hear stuff. We hear rocks clacking, like something's cracking rocks together, like
okay,
rhythmically, and we're like, that's weird. And so, and then my dog, Ari, is like, I don't want any of this. I want out of here. I'm done. He was sleeping outside, so he insisted on getting in the tent. Well, he just wasn't having it. And this happened pretty close to where I live. So I ended up, because he was so upset, I ended up taking him home.
okay.
So left down there alone, bring the dog back home, and then I'd come back. Well, we'll come back, and I have to go to the bathroom. So we leave the tent, and he's got to escort me to go to the bathroom. And what we see with my little flashlight, because the battery had gone on my good one, we see two sets of eyes looking at us. One was white set and one was amber. And they were pretty close together. And we're looking, and I'm like, do you see what I see? And he goes, yeah, I see what you see. And then one of them winked at us.
Yeah,
it's not funny, but it was pretty scary at the moment, because it just looked at us and it winked.
Yeah,
and we were like, I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore. So,
I don't mean to laugh, Celeste. I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
It's so funny.
We add humor into our investigations, because if you don't, and you take yourself too seriously, these are living beings, and they wanted us to know they were there. And I don't know what the wink meant, but the night got much more interesting. I'll let Don tell you that part, because they got in the tent.
Yeah, they actually, at least one of them did. I guess while we were gone, they they went ahead and one of them got into the tent. Well, anyway, we went ahead and zipped the tent up and fell asleep.
Right.
Well, I was awake and something scratched me from my chest all the way down my abdomen. Of course, I let out a big yell, and it was like, and then something happened to you too.
Well, he was facing one way. His head was facing the door. My head was back of the tent on my cot, and I was up against the tent lining. And I was laying down, facing the tent lining. And then it's like something through the tent grabbed my mouth. Like just grabbed my mouth. And I was like, that's how I woke up. So at the same time he's going through that, I'm going through my own thing. And I just took my flashlight and I popped popped it like that. And it released. But I had little nicks above my lip, like even through the tent. And that's when he blamed me.
I thought she scratched me. But the thing is this is, it's kind of cool out and I had a bunch of covers over me. And the way she was laying and everything, there's no way she could have scratched me. But
I was dealing with my own.
Yeah.
So we both got up in a start and I was like, what just happened? And it took us a while to figure out what happened to each other. And I mean, because it was like we were sleeping and it was dazed and confused, and you don't expect that while you're sound asleep.
Right.
We had this same area. We've gone back. It was probably a couple months later, and the water was really low, and we're on the same side of the river at this point. So we walked down, and we had actually found. Ari actually found it, an area where we found rocks where they had ground something up, like a grinding tool.
Yeah, they use tools.
Yeah, we found like grinding tools in a hollowed out tree. And then there were these big rocks on the water's edge, and piled neatly on the big rocks were bones of birds and fish. Just piled nice and neatly, like something had sat there and ate. And then just put the bones on top of one another.
Just stacked up.
No
animal would do that. No animal would.
And we found like 3 of those along the river's edge. So we go and sit on a log one day, and I just have the phone recording, and we're downwind. So I figure, we're going to sneak up on them and just see if we can record anything. And we hear them working like they're digging out a tree.
Oh, they're talking.
And they're just talking away.
They're hammering away.
And then it sounds like they're getting a little bit of a fight. One gets really loud. It's just trying to hunker down on this log and, record them. We can't see them, but it's a 9-minute video, and you can hear them and hear what they're doing and stuff like that. And it was really, that kind of sealed it for us. So we started looking for telltale signs.
Then we took pictures.
Yeah, we
got pictures. We got several pictures. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Can you see their faces?
You can see a face.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 of them in there. But the thing is,
well, this is in a different location.
Yeah, this is a different location. We found them in several locations, but the thing is, I got to doing a lot of history work on these little guys, and found out that the Cherokee Indians called them moon-eyed people, and that they actually fought battles with them, and had one in northern Georgia that was pretty rough battle. But they're all over American folklore and history, as far as the Indian lore and frontiersmen and what have you. And it's just damn the same we ever seen. We never ever expected anything like this, but after actually seeing them in person and taking photographs of these little guys, it's just
and we found the photograph through an eagle-eyed follower on our page.
Yeah. And so I turned this photograph over to my buddy, and he looked at it. He says, where the hell are you all? Where the hell are you all going to? And I said, well, we can't really tell you, but he said, and his wife was going to go with us, him and her. Now she don't want to anymore, but but anyway, but we have found them in several different locations, but they seem to be wherever you find the Bigfoot at, they seem to be there. Now,
so we have camped at that particular spot again. I don't know, like a year later, and so I put out a trail mix in a paper cup, and so I make my own trail mix. They left the cup, it was empty, and there's a little handprint inside the cup.
Yeah,
just a little handprint, and a raccoon would have just destroyed it and ran it all over the place, but they just put the cup back.
We took photographs of handprints and tracks left by them, and but it's just one of the strangest things that like I say, we wasn't really we had no idea anything like this.
And where this picture was taken was across the river from where the woman got bit, and we were just investigating, and we saw a set of Bigfoot tracks that went off into the water and just disappeared. And so I happened to look around, and we saw just a pile of little shells on a tree and next to this brush pile that looked like something was sitting there eating. And I noticed that the brush pile was being held up with a straight stick. So I did not look inside the brush pile. I just stuck my phone in there.
Took some pictures.
And recorded a video. It's actually from a video. And the video is on our page. And posted the video, told everybody what I thought it was. And then one of our followers is like, you can see him. I was like, what? So I had to go. I didn't even know we had a picture of him. So I had to go back in the video. I'm like, sure enough.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, there they were. So we, took a still of the picture and,
But, little people, have been throughout history. They've been, like elves and trolls.
Well, you got the Minahutes in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And actually they were on the Hawaiian census until the late 1800s.
And the hobbits.
And the hobbits at Flores Island now, they found hobbit-like creatures that they thought were children, but actually their bone structure shows that they were adults. So
yeah, so I mean, these the ones that we look at, I'm sure are the Moonite people, because this whole area here, the Choctaw, all this whole area, Cherokee, they talk about them. They have, and plus, in American history, the folklore is that if you didn't treat them nice, and they would cause a lot of or whatever.
And in fact, was it Ireland you were telling me that they would change the road pattern?
No, Iceland.
Yeah,
in Iceland they believe in them so much that when they do a road, if there's a big huge rock or boulder there, they'll go around it. They won't move it. They won't blow it up or nothing. They'll go around it. So I mean, little people are not unheard of. It's just that we didn't expect to run into them.
Tennessee.
Right.
So
and on this where we find this brush pile, we explored a little bit more, and there was a hillside, and this was last summer.
Yeah.
And there was holes in the hillside, that people would think are foxholes. Well, this one particular hole, everything around it was cleared off. Like they had taken a broom and brushed the leaves away and all the debris, and everything was all cleared off in a circle around it. And, and if you think about it, that cuts down on snakes, bugs, any predator sneaking up on you, because, you've cleared the leaf litter.
They're very clean, because when we find where they had lived or or whatever. It's always been
Very neat.
very neat, tidy. Everything's been brushed aside.
Like the bones on the rock was all very neat and tidy.
Oh yeah, I mean they must be very good hunters too, fishermen and what have you, because they
Catfish.
just yeah,
Catfish.
and
they cultivate too, because we found a graveyard totally
yeah,
I don't know how many miles away.
about 2.
No. Out by LBL.
Oh yeah,
Was it LBL? Yeah.
Yeah, LBL, yeah.
Was it LBL or was it no? Well, anyway, we were at a graveyard, and it's I don't know how old's the graveyard. It had
Goes way back.
yeah, it looked like there were all these little mushrooms that were cultivated, and I had never seen this type of mushroom before in my life. I've never seen it, and I haven't seen it in a book. It's something I've never seen. And around the mushroom were all these shells, like mussel shells that something's been eaten out of.
Taken from the lake or the river.
Yeah.
All the way up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And it's I'm like, well, they wouldn't be sitting here. And then you could see where they sat too. It was like something had sat there and enjoyed its meal.
But it's just a weird thing, that we ran across, just
not expecting to.
Following up on like right after we went over there to the place where the lady was bit and seen the little person, what she thought was a little person, run away. We kind of just, we didn't have an opinion on it really at that time.
Well, we had long conversations about, should we share this with others? Should we tell people about this? Because we feel like all these species should be protected. And we're not going to get on national TV and say, oh, look what we found. Look what we found. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that, because we're not doing this for fame or fortune.
Mm-hmm.
But
we just want to make people aware that there's all kinds of little, well, big and small little cryptids and beings out there, and that probably been living in people's yards and people don't even know about it.
Well, yeah, and the settlers tell stories of how they help them, what to plant, where to plant, that type of thing.
But don't cross them.
Yeah, don't cross them.
Okay. Now that kind of brings up a question. When y'all were camping, when the one Celeste grabbed you through the tent and the one that scratched you on your chest, what do you think you did? Were they just being mischievous, do you think? Or did you do something that you don't know what you did?
Well, I know what we did. That's the day Ari dragged us to where we found where they were living. Now, I've been back to that site and it's empty now.
Yeah, they haven't been back there.
They haven't been back there. So we think that that's what instigated it, because they picked on him first, on Ari. I'm sorry, my dog's over here. They picked on Ari, and I had to take him home.
Right.
So this is all the same night. And yeah. So we think that's what we did. And another camper that was down the way said, it was a weird night last night.
Yeah, I know, we were talking to. We didn't say nothing. We didn't say.
Because the rock clacking is what warned us. Now, we've heard the rock clacking before.
Yeah.
And that was our very first time investigating together. But we thought it was Bigfoot.
Well, I've heard rock clacking when it's Bigfoot. They'll pick up rocks, but it's super loud, and it's usually pretty good sized rocks they pick up and smash together.
These weren't,
they're smaller rocks, and they're not that big.
Yeah, but that's where we don't know if it's related to Bigfoot or not. We honestly don't. And we think these cryptids tend to protect each other, because like when we took this picture, he was tracking tracks that went off into the water.
Yeah, I took photographs of those too.
And, and then we find this. And also in that spot, we found a perfectly preserved deceased fawn. Looked like it was sleeping. Remember that?
Yeah.
And again, you know, that wasn't touched by anything either. So I don't know if any of these are real. I don't know, but we're going to find out, I guess, one way or another. You know, we're going to keep whatever the evidence leads. We're open-minded. We're not, oh, I'm out for Bigfoot. We don't have to label everything as Bigfoot. We don't try to label everything as Bigfoot either. We don't know what certain things mean, but eventually some answer will have to come if we go out enough, huh?
Yeah. But we run across all kinds of weird things, and one of the weirdest things that we've ever run across was we was at, man, this is a
deep, yeah.
This is a super one of the best Bigfoot habitat locations that we've got, and we've got some really good ones. And we have taken so many photographs of tracks and structures and signs like X markers and things. But the thing is, though, and we've had run-ins with them a little bit, deer drives and things like that there held by the Bigfoot. But this area also has a ruined building, a building that is, just abandoned, tore down.
There's a whole neighborhood that's abandoned.
Yeah, and they love that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I don't know. We decided we was gonna check it out. At that time, I had just gotten over abdominal surgery, and
well, my one of my sons wanted to explore abandoned buildings because he was watching those kids that do it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you want to come with us, I know where there's one, and get it out of his system, So Don had abdominal surgery, and he could barely walk. He was
it was rough, man.
Yeah.
I think they would have one thing, and they found several other things, and I was under the knife for like 4 more hours than I was supposed to be. But anyway, I was just really, really sore, and we got to the building, and I could barely get out of the vehicle, and I walked down there with them, and I looked in there, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to go in there, because I'd have to step over lumber and old furniture and everything else, and I just wasn't able to do it. So I stayed outside by the car.
Right.
And she could tell you the rest.
So my son and I go in there, and we take pictures, which there's definitely an eye shine in one of them, but we just look around, curious, looking up and down.
This is during the daylight.
Everything I do is during the daylight. So I start to feel, well, he actually hollers in, hey, you coming out? And I said, yeah, we're getting ready to come out. Well, right after I said that, I had a pain in my head, and I felt nauseous. And I told my son, I said, I'm not feeling very good. And I was just kind of holding my head. I said, I have a weird feeling in my head and my stomach. He goes, okay. He goes, let's go. So we exit the building the way we came in. And this guy is nowhere to be found.
All right, Don, where'd you go?
I didn't go anywhere. I was standing by the car.
He wasn't by the car. Well, hold on. Hold on. Let me finish the story.
Okay.
He wasn't by the car. I hit the car fob.
Okay.
No response. He's not there. I'm like, oh my God, he fell down somewhere. He's lying. Something happened. So my son goes, okay. I said, do you see him? He goes, no, I don't see him, because we kind of split up for like maybe 12 feet. And he goes, I don't see him. I said, okay, come, we stick together. Whatever this is, we stick together. Because I still have that really weird feeling in my stomach. And I'm like, something's not right. And I call him. He doesn't answer the phone. I'm like, Okay, I'm worried. So I said, okay, let's go around the building. Maybe he went down because there's a really pretty view of the water on one side of the building. I said, maybe he, ambled down there to look at the view. Get down there, he's not there. So by this time I start praying. Okay.
Okay.
We don't see where we both scoured. We go down around the building, come back on the other side, and my son goes, "Oh, there's Don by the car."
Where I'd been. I didn't leave. I was by the car.
Well, but they couldn't see you.
Nope.
I didn't see them either.
He didn't see us either.
I didn't see him come out.
He didn't hear us hollering. He didn't hear the car alarm go off. He didn't get a phone call. Nothing. We were hollering his name. I was set the car alarm off. Nothing.
So anyway, they come around and they're telling me this stuff, and I'm like, I think they're kidding with me.
We think he's kidding.
And I'm like, man, I've been standing right by this car because it hurts me to get in and out of the car. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's summertime, and and I didn't want to sit in that hot car waiting on them, so I just stayed right there by the front of the car. And yeah, at first I thought they was pulling my leg. They was like, and I realized that, man, they're not kidding. They really didn't see me. And then I told I was like, hell, I sure as hell didn't see you. I didn't hear y'all.
He didn't hear us. We were hollering his name, everything. And there's about a 12-minute gap of time in this somewhere. Where
12 minutes?
12 minutes. Where one of us was either someplace else and one of us wasn't. So now I think it was my son and I who I'm not even going to get into all that because it even gets weirder over time because I've noticed differences in my family. My dad's cat is different. So I don't know if we slipped dimensions or if Don did, but something happened.
I know this sounds weird and crazy, and
this is, yeah.
Well, no.
You're on an acid trip, but I mean, it's like, but either they went somewhere or I went somewhere. But something happened where I couldn't hear them, couldn't see them, and they couldn't see me. And I didn't go anywhere. And so now when I was waiting out there, I thought, well, they must have found another way to get out because they're not coming back the same way.
But see, we did exit really shortly after he said, "Are you coming out?" But there's this time that went by that is unaccounted for. So we talk about it, and I'm like, I don't even want to think about it and talk about it anymore.
It's pretty scary.
It was yeah, it was very scary,
very weird, very
and my son doesn't want to go on any more adventures ever in his life.
Very unnerving. It's just because we really don't know.
And it was a shock.
Like we were asking ourselves, okay, now suppose they never come back. Okay, what was I going to tell people?
What was I going to tell
the authority?
People?
Yeah, what was she going to tell people?
I'm going to have to call the police. He's missing. Yeah. And they're going to think I pushed him in the river or something. You know what I mean? I mean, it was. But I will tell you, and I don't know if you're a spiritual person or what, but it doesn't matter. Just as my experience. When I did pray, I started to feel better. My queasiness was gone and my headache went away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we found him. So.
But I don't think I was lost because to be found. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
we talk about this once in a great while because it gives us a headache.
It's like a Rubik's Cube you can't solve.
And I tell him, I said, you know what? I noticed this. This wasn't like this before. That,
yeah.
So I don't know. I can't answer if we slipped dimensions or what, or I mean, I'm all into quantum entanglement and all that stuff, and I've even I love all the time traveling shows and whatnot. I mean, I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
See, I'm just the
Mhm.
opposite. Up until anything like this happened, I didn't.
He got freaked out when I had a tree touch me.
Yeah, I didn't have anything. I didn't. I just didn't think about that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
There to do and stuff and dwell on it, but I never did.
Right now, talking about it, I'm like having a reaction.
Yeah, and then we've had other things that's crazy. Like we were at this. We decided to go and
Wait a minute, Don, if you don't mind. Celeste, to answer you, I'm actually an ordained Christian minister.
Okay.
So the question that popped in my head, do you think that when you came out of that house that you may have walked out behind the veil?
Walked out
behind the veil.
I don't know about the whole veil thing.
Uh-huh.
What I can liken it to is I was hold on. This is what I've been trying to come to terms with.
Uh-huh.
I was in between. It felt like I was in between. If I went back, I may never come back out on this spot. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? Not so much behind a veil. That implies, a separation. I felt like I was moving between. This side over here meant one time or distance, and this side over here meant another. And
right.
the one I was in, or I see this is, it all in my head, and I should probably write this down, and I might.
You have all this stuff swirling around your head. You really happen.
How I felt is I was just between. I was neither here nor there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's when I said, do you think that maybe you were behind the veil? The veil is between is the thing that God put up to separate man from heaven or hell. And the veil is something that keeps the demons and angels from passing through freely into our
well,
realm.
I don't remember in the scriptures. We've talked about portals before. The scriptures do mention portals. You got Jacob's ladder. You've got different things that happened to God's prophets where he took them up and dropped them, put them somewhere else. I do believe scripturally that sometimes the Bible describes portals, but the spirit realm isn't always visible to us.
No.
Until, it needs to be.
You see, one thing about this day too is it didn't seem like an unusual day.
It was a beautiful day.
Even when we found each other,
it
was a beautiful day. It was like,
but see, for him, the birds kept singing. For me, they didn't.
It was just really weird. I mean, I know I didn't go anywhere. I was standing out there. I was leaning up against the car.
Right.
And here's an important thing. His phone does not show a missed call from me.
It doesn't. Yeah. And I didn't hear her hit the car.
And he didn't hear me hit the car alarm either.
Yeah. Didn't see him come out.
Didn't hear me yell.
Now, whenever you walked out and you hit the car alarm, did you hear the alarm go off?
Yeah.
So it went, so you could see the car, but you couldn't see him.
Right.
You could see everything else, but you had no ambient noise from the forest.
That's what it felt like. It felt like everything was holding its breath.
She was scared because she couldn't see me.
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't wrong. I was just waiting for them to come out. I did. I was told anything was wrong. I was waiting,
Mhm.
still waiting until they come around and her son said, "Hey, there's Don," which kind of puzzled me because I'm like, well, where else will I be? You know?
Well, we have the video on our page of what exactly right after, and you know, and I'm trying to treat things with humor, but you can tell I'm shaken up, and my son didn't even want to talk about it. He's never talked about it
He don't even
since.
go anymore. He's so freaked out.
Anyway, there's and in it I took pictures, and I say there's one word. You know how they spray paint buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On the,
Graffiti and stuff. Yeah.
on this building, there's only one word spray painted all over it, and that word alone.
Alone.
That's the only word
That's
spray
the only
painted in the
word
building.
spray painted all over the building. Alone. Inside of it, outside of it, on it, back of it, front of it. Alone. So the next day,
Uh-huh.
maybe to conquer our fear, my son and I decided to go back. All right. Now, in one of the pictures, you can see an eye shine.
I didn't go in.
He didn't even leave the car. I
No.
parked him in a shady spot, and I said, "Don't move." I said, "Don't
Right.
nothing." I said, "You need me, honk the horn. I've got to figure this out." So we went in a different entrance.
Uh-huh.
My son and I were back to back,
Okay.
and I had a hold of his bag, and you know, so that I would not lose contact with him. I mean, I was
Right.
holding on, you know, "Mama, hold on," type thing.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "We got to go now," and ushers me out of the building. There, he said he saw somebody in the building. They walked out of the shadow. And I don't know if we're dealing with something demonic or whatever it was. Looking back, that's kind of how I feel it was.
Uh-huh.
Because when I prayed to God, it stopped. So there's actually a kind of a grassroots movement to tear this building down now. Because other people have gone in there and had different experiences, not the same experience, but different experiences. So you take it for what it is. That's my experience.
Well, like I say, anything was wrong. I was just standing by the car. You know?
Yeah. Well, before you go in there to destroy the building, how about letting me know where to meet you guys? You can take me in there and I'll go in alone.
Well, I wouldn't advise that because I am also a minister.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you want to go there, you know, if Don is agreeable to it, we can definitely meet you there. And
if it's still there, they may have tore it down.
It's
totally
not up to us to tear it down. It was
Right.
It was somebody else was making that decision.
Uh-huh.
But if you know he's agreeable to it, we'll definitely meet you there.
Oh,
But I would never advise going in alone.
We'd have to find out if it's still there, though. You know,
how are you going to find out?
Go and look.
No.
Don, that sounds like a trip you're taking on your own, my friend. I hate to say it.
On in, I just
don't
go
even
by and get out.
And the thing is, even when you drive there now, it's almost like a siren call. You feel like, oh, you know, it's calling me.
It ain't calling me.
But no, the reason I say I would go alone is because I would not want someone else to take a chance.
Right.
I'm just that type of person. I don't take anyone else with me. If something like that's going on, you know, I would pray for 7, 8 days fast and all that stuff to just go.
Well, that's not the only time thing we've had happen to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right after
Tell me-
that.
Go
Not,
ahead.
not too long after that.
Just last. What are you talking about?
The
Which one?
orb, and well, right where we had the orb thing, then we went over to the
Well,
crib.
that was a couple of years. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was last year. So it was like, yeah, it's about 2 years after that.
Okay.
We decided we go near this kill area where the Bigfoot had been taking deer and goats
Hmm.
and killing them and eating them there. And so we went ahead and went over there, and we were parked in a pretty good area.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we seen it. I take it back. She didn't see nothing.
I didn't see anything. This is, we were out and about that night. So we had found this kill zone during the day. We were just, there's a parking lot there. Let's just go sit there for a minute, and enjoy our sodas or, whatever. So that's what we did. So we're going to see if we can see anything from our car because we don't go out in the woods at night.
Right.
So go ahead.
So anyway, I'm, we're looking, trying. We got the windows down a little bit, trying to listen, and I see this huge orb. I mean, it's about the size of a truck tire, and
That's big.
yeah, and it's moving through the woods. And I said, "Damn, Celeste!" I said, "Look at that."
I don't see a thing.
And she says, "Look at what?" I said that light is moving through the woods, and
He goes, it lights up the whole woods, and I'm like,
yeah,
what?
and that's what was so crazy about it, was that it just wasn't the light itself. The trees, the grass, and things around it was lit up. It was like somebody had almost like a searchlight, and it kept moving through the woods. And I kept telling her, I said, "You don't see that?
Nope.
You don't see that.
Nope.
Tell me you see that."
I'm covering my eye. I'm like going like this, and I'm going like this. I'm just like, I don't see anything, Don. I'm like,
So I'm like, I'm really getting frustrated because she don't see anything, and I'm seeing this thing, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. And I said, "My God, it's going to be right up here on us." She goes, "I don't see nothing, Don."
So this is another thing I did. Okay. He's having, he's getting a little nervous, freaking out because I don't see it. So again, I said a prayer. And the prayer was, if this is something malevolent, please let it go away. And then what happened?
Well, yeah. What did it? It went to the tree line. There's like a little field there.
Okay.
And then it started going back. It started going away. And finally it went all the way back to where it came from, and it's gone. But I mean, she didn't see nothing. I was watching this thing, and I'm like, my God, I could not believe she couldn't see that. And it was like,
he was frustrated.
Yeah. I mean, I even had my gun out. And then tell them about that time slip.
Well, we
Time slip or time loss?
well, it's up for interpretation because let me explain this.
Okay.
All right. So we went to this place. We were checking out for fishing, and
We seen a dog man there too.
This is going to be interesting.
This is not the same time.
So
So
different time though.
we
Okay.
did. This is another place that has two cemeteries. We did see something that resembled a dog man.
Okay.
Jury's out for me on dogmen. But anyway, we did see something. It was very shy and obviously didn't want to be seen, and it ended up taking off. But anyway, so we, when we have ice cream cravings, sometimes, we'll get an ice cream or something to drink, and we'll just drive around and go to these spots that we know are active and just sit on the road.
Okay.
So this is what we did this particular night. We went to this spot and we just sat there, in total silence, seeing if we can see something. We're not, again, getting out in the woods or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, well, we do these red light videos. And he goes, well, we're going to do a red light video tonight. And I said, yeah. I said, but I don't have any service here. So we're going to have to go back. I don't know. What is it? How many miles is it back to? It's like 6.
Got 7 or 8.
Yeah.
7 or 8 miles.
Depending on which way you go. So it's about 8 miles the way we came back. So we go down to the river's edge to do a red light video and talk about what we saw or didn't see and why we went, different things like that.
Uh-huh.
We do the video. Get back home. I'm looking at the videos. After we did the red light video, there is a 1-second video on my phone. It's us back at the other place. Okay, it took me 5 minutes to get home from doing the red light video.
Okay.
The location of this 1-second video is 8 miles away. And there was a time, like a 3-minute gap between that video and the red light video, and then the 3-minute gap. What was it, before we got to the house or something? There's a gap in time. It was like, it ended up being like 8 minutes total. And in that 8 minutes, somehow we went back to that place, did a 1-second video, and came back to my house. And we didn't go. Consciously, we didn't go. My phone didn't go. So we turned that over to this poor guy that has to look at all our photos and stuff. And in that 1-second video, there's 3 lights. There's 3 lights in the video. Okay.
Uh-huh.
There's a sound of somebody stepping on gravel. And there's a woman's voice. Can't tell if it's mine or not.
It wasn't yours.
Well, at the time, couldn't tell. So it wasn't mine.
Mm.
So 1 second. 1-second video on my phone. Don't know how it got there. We have no conscious memory of it. In the location where we were. After we did the red light video 8 miles away.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have been how many minutes to get back?
Well, there was no way it could have.
I know it
could have happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get back home. There's a 1-second video plus the red light video, and the 1-second video took place 8 miles away from your home.
And the timestamp on it is after we did the red light video.
Okay, you're at, and the distance between the red light video and the other one is how many miles?
8.
And you were only 5 minutes away from your house.
Yes. Not even.
At the red light.
Right.
And you had not been to that other place that whole evening.
We did before the red light.
Yeah, we were there.
Okay.
But we didn't have my phone out.
Yeah. But
Could it have been somehow, was it in your pocket?
Nope.
Was it?
I didn't get out of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
So
you could hear a woman's voice. You could hear her walking on gravel. And that's it.
And then there's 3 lights.
Yeah, 3 lights going across
it.
That blows my mind because
yeah, blew ours.
the way reality works, there's no way.
No.
And it being after the red light video, the timestamp is after.
And it's not something that was airdropped to my phone or anything like that. And we didn't do a video up there because you didn't have service on your phone. Well, wait, I take that back. I took my phone and checked to see if it's service, and we didn't. So I
We didn't even do anything up
didn't
there.
even do anything with it.
Do you think maybe something paranormal happened up there that caught the 1 second video of him getting out, stepping on gravel?
I never got out.
Neither one of you got out. So how in the world could it have sound of gravel?
Nobody got out of the car.
And there was a woman's voice on her, but it wasn't hers.
And it wasn't Celeste talking.
Nope.
And there's 3 lights you see.
Yeah, you see 3 lights.
It's just 1 second.
Yeah.
But it's like,
In times,
There's no logical explanation that I can think of.
no.
Nothing. I have nothing. I'm completely at a loss on that one.
See, and after the incident in the building, I took a break.
Uh-huh.
I said, I can't, it'll be a while before I can research again. Because and sometimes I'm still wary. And he's like, and
tell you the truth, I needed a break. I mean,
now, I did tell him when he started researching me that I wasn't for the faint of heart. Weird things happen to me in weird ways all the time.
True.
But thanks. Appreciate that.
Now, I'm going to ask this question, and I don't mean anything by this. Don, Celeste, when were y'all going to try to come to Salt Fork? August or October?
You want Don to come by himself?
No, I would not want Don to come by himself. I'm good at being a guinea pig. So just
she's done some weird things, like
well, hold on. I'm not. Let's say, if we came to Salt Fork, I would probably not research there, just so that I wouldn't.
Oh no. We would want you to research with the rest of us.
Ooh, yeah. Careful what you ask for.
I've got protection, hon. His name's Jesus Christ. So I ain't worried about anything on this side of heaven. I'm not worried one bit about it.
I travel with my Bible.
She's had some weird.
I do too.
I tell you, I've done a lot of, before I started.
Okay. Come on, Don. Tell us all the dirty details on this. Come on.
Before I started researching with Celeste, I was, just what I'd call your average, everyday,
boring life.
yeah, Bigfoot researcher type person. But after I started researching with her, I'm like, good grief, man. I mean, I've seen some weird things. We was at this one cemetery that's supposed to be one of the most haunted in the state of Kentucky.
Right.
It probably is.
I don't do paranormal. I don't do ghosts.
No, she don't do that.
Right. I understand.
And the thing is this, we were over there and we were, looking around and stuff, and this area is really weird because a certain time of year, about March, April, right around in there's always dogman sightings, and not in the cemetery, but around the cemetery in town. And they don't do anything to anybody, but they, and then they just stop. But anyway, we was over there. It was summertime, and we were just talking about this and that, and said, Don, I'm gonna go ahead and have a tree hug me.
No, that's not what I said. I said, I'm gonna ask this tree to touch me.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I've already known her for a while by then, you know what I'm saying? and we videotaped this.
But
And
isn't that a little bit strange for her to say? I mean,
yeah, but
okay.
I known her for a little while. And
All things in subjection.
and anyway, I said, let's don't, you know.
Uh-huh.
That's what I did. I told her, and it's on the video. I told her, I said, let's don't do this, you know. And man, right after I said that, that tree went ahead and one of the branches touched her, you know. And I'm like, oh gosh, man, you know.
He literally moves away from me.
Yeah, I gotta get the hell out of here. I'm like, God.
And then it kept doing it. It kept doing this to
I
me.
know it. I'm like, I said, let's go.
But you got to remember this, Don. A child of Christ can ask anything and the Father will give it.
Hmm.
Well, that's all well and good, but I just and then another time we went to this.
Well, Don, let me
This is
let me give you an example, a personal example that happened to me. I here a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, went to the hospital on a Wednesday morning because I had been throwing up.
Oh.
I was dehydrated. My kidneys were at 5%.
Oh man,
Normal function.
Ooh.
They did their test. The doctor came in and said, "I've got to check you in the hospital." And I just looked at him and said, "No, I'll just go home." And my wife looked at me and she had that look. You know the look, Don, I'm talking about.
yeah.
Like, if you get out of that bed, you're not going to make it to the door. So I stayed in the hospital all day Wednesday night, Thursday. The kidney specialist came in on Thursday, checked my charts. And my wife had left and went home at this point. And he looked at me and he said, "You're only at 6% normal function. We have to put you on dialysis."
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at him and I said, "No, no, he can wait." And they had a lady at the hospital. Now, this is a Christian hospital. It's St. Francis Hospital here in Charleston. And she came in and she's of the priesthood, the Jesuit priest. She came in and prayed with me. And my pastor come up of the church that we go to. That afternoon, my wife was there. I was there. And the pastor came in. Now, I've known this man for 30 years, over 30 years now. I've known him longer than his wife has known. He put his hand, he walked over and he said, "Now I'm going to do what I was told to do by God." He put his hand on my lower back where my kidneys will be. They come in and tested my kidneys. They were at 26%, 2 hours after he left.
Power of prayer.
The next morning, I was 5% below normal, 5 points below what is normal for a human being to have. So the power of prayer does work. It worked for me. God saw fit to put them back in normal function, and I've never had no more trouble.
That's wonderful.
So, her asking a tree to touch her, because you don't ask the tree. She was asking God the Father to have his creation to touch another part of his creation. So, yeah, I can believe that wholeheartedly.
Well, when we go in the woods and different things, I will sometimes say thank you, or I'll set before we go into the woods, my intention, why we're going into the woods is we're not there to hurt anything. We're just there to explore and research, and because we want to know, we want our questions. And
understand. I do that myself a lot.
Yeah.
Or disturb any of the Bigfoot or dogman, little people or whatever is and I think they know that. They really do, because when we go back to some of our research areas, sometimes we get gifted, and I think they know us very well because they use us, and they know that we're not there to harass them or hunt them down at night and all this sort of stuff. And but like you talk about, Celeste, another time we went to another place. Remember that house? Oh man, what's going on?
It's just the battery went out.
Okay.
What else?
Remember the old house? They have these tours of this old house.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally enough, that's where the light was blinking on and off.
Yeah. Anyway, we walked in there, and a buddy of mine, high school teacher, on a summertime job, he would go in there and he'd help, with the, various things, and repair things in the house and stuff. But anyway, the house is very well known to be haunted.
Okay.
And this lady, we walked into this room, and this lady was telling us this and that, and I said something of like, in your opinion, is this house haunted? Like that, and anyway, and she said no. And as soon as she said that,
the lights
started blinking like crazy, off and on, off and on, off and on. I don't know, man.
Well, now they've opened that place as
a haunted bed and breakfast. She was trying to deny it, even though the whole town knew it was.
Well, she said, she goes, well, it's not haunted because so and so comes here at 3:00 in the morning, and everything's fine. I said, well, why does he come at 3:00 in the morning? She goes, oh, because alarms are going off.
At 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one of the guys come in there to check on alarms going off.
It's a beautiful place. They restored it. It's gorgeous.
But at 3 o'clock, I mean, Celeste, you know what it means at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's the witching hour.
Well, no, it's the mocking of the Trinity is what that is.
Anyway, what was so funny about it was, she said it wasn't haunted. The damn lights are off. I mean, it's like, okay, it's not haunted.
So who was she trying to sell on it not being haunted?
Well,
herself?
Yeah.
Well, there was a little girl that came. The little girl wanted to come. I don't care for that stuff, and
right,
and I wanted to see it, and he said, well, so and so said it was haunted. I said, pish posh. But this little girl came in, and she wanted to be in a haunted house, and I guess they decided, oh, look, she wants us to act up.
Yeah, it's funny how the house was known to be haunted, and then they to rebrand the house as just a historical house and just take people through it and all that. And then they decided later on, about a year later, just go ahead and have the bed and breakfast and admit that it was a haunted house. So I don't know.
Well,
man.
the guy that lived in the house, that built the house and everything, he has a really weird history. He had, like, I don't know, several wives, and he had lots of children, but they were all dropped dead. And he was really old, and he would have all these women lined up to be his next wife. So, kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
What do you think he was, Solomon?
I think he survived several of his kids.
3
He
wives.
was old.
And a lot of his kids died
Yeah.
from several wives.
And interestingly enough, down the road, a couple houses, his philanthropy was opening a house for widows.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, something ain't right about this. Somebody missed something.
Yes. It kind of sounds like he's maybe one of those
Yeah.
habitual peeping Toms.
Serial killer.
Possibly.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
thanks. No. No. I'm not going to. No.
Sure you took of me outside of it?
Oh, yeah.
Come
I
on.
don't want to do paranormal, but with him, he keeps. Ugh.
Well, I just want to take a picture of her outside the house, you know.
Uh-huh.
And of course, you know, things show up in the pictures, you know.
So, what was the thinking behind taking the picture of her in front of the house to prove that she does go there, or just because she
Yes.
made the house look better?
Oh, wow. Lay it on.
Well, just, you know, just taking a picture of, you know, we were there at that house, I guess.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And anyway, I took a picture of the house, and, you know, it's like, oh, man, there you go. But, yeah, just, yeah, I've had some crazy, wild stuff, you know, doing research. And, but we have found so many things, and we have found so many, oh my gosh, so many things, so many structures. We've taken hundreds and pictures of
Structures. Yeah.
signs and things like
We
that.
caught
What's the weirdest structure you taken a picture of?
Oh
To
Lord.
you?
Well, we've taken a lot of
for me, the coolest one
Mm-hmm.
was a dome-shaped one, and it literally looked
where they
like
weaved it.
they weaved it, and it was like a dome, and it had a little opening, and you could just, you know, I mean, it wasn't a little opening. It was, we could walk through it.
Right.
That was the coolest one. That was cool.
But you know, some of the things that we've noticed, say, like you take you know, these bold trees, you know,
Right.
when we're in a habitat area, the bold trees have limbs or trunks of trees under them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You know, like just like you're allowed to see a bold tree anywhere in the woods, but
Right.
the one like these have all got large limbs or parts of trees directly under them that are just like this one right here. You can see the limb. I don't know if you can see it or not. See the limb underneath the bow?
Up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's one tree
That's one thing that we've noticed.
that we actually heard it being manipulated that night, because we heard the crack, 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 crack,
Yeah.
crack, crack, and it was pretty close to our tent. So we kind of walked down the road to, you know, we want to look into the
Mhm.
woods. We don't want to walk through the woods. So we walk down this dirt road, and we see, you know how there's two trees that split? There's one, and then there's a smaller one
Right.
with it. The smaller one was still alive, bent around the main trunk of the tree and interwoven with another tree.
Yeah.
So they took the smaller one, bent it down around the bigger part of the tree, and
Right.
that I mean, we have a picture of that somewhere, but I don't think we have it. It's on our page. But that was the coolest too. I mean,
Yeah, that
that
was
one,
pretty neat.
because we heard it happening. You know, we heard the creaking of the tree and the movement and all this, and I'm like, oh, they pushed a tree down or something, and it was like a show of strength. You know, we can bend this tree, and you can see where it's bent over and
twisted.
behind.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cool.
We found a lot of TP structures.
Right.
Like so.
And then we found this one stick.
Those are good finds.
Where's this balanced one? The stick that's balanced on. Oh, we didn't pull that one out.
No, we didn't pull that one out.
That one's a good aspect.
Yeah.
You found, but you said you found a balanced
There was a tree break, and they balanced the broken part on it, perfectly balanced it. And I went all the way around it and did a video, and I took a picture of it. It's here somewhere.
Here's a nice asterisk there.
Yeah, it is a nice one. It's good sized trees too.
Yeah.
What did we do with the?
I don't know.
Oh, the right here.
Oh, okay. But we have found so many things. And
I mean, things we wouldn't think we would have found. I think it's in this one. We pay attention to every noise when we're out. Anything out of the ordinary.
Well, if you guys can make it up to Salt Fork.
Now that's pretty wild right here. This is a tree stump that was about 7 to 8 feet above the ground.
Oh, it's not here.
Pushed into the tree limbs, and that thing had to weigh probably, I'd say maybe 300 pounds, man. Pretty good size.
I can't. It's got to be here somewhere. You don't see it?
We walked around trying to find where in the world it could have come from. It had to be hauled in there from somewhere.
Yeah, it was a huge. We found rocks up in trees.
Yeah.
Boulders
and trees.
I mean, you know, you say what you want, but
coyotes.
Yeah, you found coyotes.
Yeah.
Coyotes stuck in the notches of trees.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Bigfoot just hate him.
There's this, I pass every house, and the people don't live there full time, but that's the dome.
Yeah, here's the dome.
That's the remnants of the dome. But all over their yard are rocks stacked up about like 12 inches. All over their yard.
Rock stacks?
Huh?
Rock stacks in
all over their yard.
Your yard? Or
in the house I drive past that people are only there part-time.
all
over their yard there's stacks of rocks. It's just like they appear randomly. They're in random different places. And they don't take them down. But that is in a place where the little people here it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Where the little people have been spotted. That's like perfectly balanced. It's broken off and then they rebalanced it.
And here's where Bigfoot just stepped over a down tree. Over a ditch. The tree was about maybe 3.5 foot off about 3.5, 4 foot off the ground there. And you can see the tracks.
Yeah.
It's just here's the
The
orbs. Here's the orbs right here.
I'm tangled.
Yeah, I can see those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a bluish one in there too that's in front of the tree.
Yeah.
That's a good picture.
Can't see it in this picture, but there's got another picture somewhere that's got the upside down tree. That's real close to this right here.
Yeah. I don't know where that went.
So the root ball's in the air.
Yeah. Well, the branches are all, you know, that's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that your favorite one?
Yeah, I think so.
Here's our first casting we ever did.
It's a pretty good sized foot.
Yeah.
I can't get over the guy's toe.
So, and here's the imprint. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see the imprint.
Yeah.
This guy,
Yeah, that is a strange big toe. I don't know.
he got a toe that goes under his foot.
Yeah. Well, it probably, and
Well,
you
he could have broke it
yeah. And you
as
can
a
see
child. So
the casting where the little toes are curled in, like they're gripping.
Yeah, like when they're walking.
Yeah. That was cool.
so
And here's one of the gifting stump that's no longer there.
so what happened to the stump?
The campers hacked away at it.
Oh,
You just gotta love people, man.
yeah. I know exactly what you mean. You can frequent an area 5 years in a row like I did, and somebody just had to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
No road in there. No reason to build a big house up there, except that he had the money to do it, and that's what he wanted to do.
Oh yeah. Here's a nice track right here, part of a track line.
Pretty good track.
Yeah. I don't know, I got about maybe
How
7, 8.
long did it take you?
Huh?
How long of a track line was that you were on there? You remember?
Yeah. It was dry land, and then they walked off the dry land and walked into the swampy area, about maybe 8 or 10. Then I took a bunch of those pictures
Uh-huh.
and what have you.
So is there anything else strange that's happened to you guys while y'all have been out?
Mm.
Well, we had yeah.
Probably one of the weirdest things. Here's a 3-toed Bigfoot.
Can I ask the state that you found that in?
Kentucky.
Not Alabama.
What's a 3-toed doing all the way up in Kentucky?
I don't know, but we found several of those. We found several.
We think they're migratory. We do think they move in clans.
Right.
I think they're migratory. And that, if you're a rogue male, who's to say you don't travel far and wide? I mean, in New York, we've had moose come down from Maine and from Canada.
Yeah.
For mate. So, it's and they move with the season and they move with the weather. So we
have noticed that in state land where you can't hunt,
Hmm.
What they'll do is the Bigfoot will come out of the main woods and they'll go to the state land
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they'll deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we found several locations like
Because
that.
that's where the deer go to get away from the hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they slaughter the deer.
we've had a lot of strange stuff. I mean, just in passing, I mean, we'll just look at each other and be like, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot to chronicle and to think about because
Well, like at one time we was at that kill area, and that's wind sound. It was no wind, but we heard it.
yeah, you know how they talk about infrasound and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
2 occasions where I've heard it. The one I've heard was just like a breath all around me, and when I was working and I was doing delivery at night, and the place was empty, and I was supposed to deliver something to them, and it was kind of important, and so I was knocking on the door, and I hear this, you know, and it's all around me. It's like, you know, stereo sound, you know, quad sound, and
Right.
it's just all around me. And I'm like, I got on the phone with him, and I jumped in the car, and I was shaking because I was like, it was all around me and all over me, that sound. And so he's like, you know, I woke him up, and and he's like, well, I'll stay on the phone with you. So it's not always when we research together, you know. And he goes, I'll stay on the phone with you. And I turn the car around and I'm looking for it. And off in the trees, down the driveway goes down and around. And right where
Uh-huh.
up in the trees, there was eye shine, just looking at me. Just looking at me. And I'm like, so it was you, huh? I was like, I'm leaving.
So like at one time we was at this kill area. Found it. Oh my gosh, we photographed it, made video of it. But I mean, you talk about the deer and the dead goats and just
Stolen goats.
yeah.
I
And
told him we had to leave.
yeah, and man, we heard this. It sounded like, you know, like a whooshing wind, like, but there was no wind. And man, you talk about crazy weird. And I was photographing things, and she told me, she says, Don, we got to go. We got to go, Don. And so I got to the car.
Mm-hmm.
And, then it really happened, didn't it?
Yeah. It was literally kicking us out of the woods.
Yeah.
What, did you feel the wind? I mean,
Didn't
or
feel,
you,
but it sounded just like, you know, like how you would have like maybe a 65, 70 mile an hour gust of wind,
right?
like during a storm.
And it's almost you could hear it wave.
Yeah. And, but you know, there was no wind, and it was just, gosh, that was weird.
Escorted us all
The hell out of there.
And then when we went through the pictures later, we took a picture of what we thought was a hunting blind, and they were in the hunting blind.
Yeah.
We got their
We photographed that, and Rick went ahead and he looked at it, did his forensic stuff on it, and he says, man, there looks like some type of human that's in there. And he went ahead and enlarged it, and he uses different colors and stuff to bring out things.
Right.
But the thing is human's about 8 or 9 foot tall. So I mean, you know.
Yeah.
And but he was looking right at us when we was out there.
Okay.
Yeah, looking right at us, and we didn't know it, but we did say it looked like a hunting blind, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. If we'd have known that he was in there, we wouldn't have been out there where we was at. I'll tell you that right now. Because
we don't try to have confrontations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Know that.
Yeah, I try to stay away from all the confrontations I can.
Yeah,
Um,
rid of us.
They escorted us out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been escorted out nicely, and I've been escorted out not so nice. So I know what they can do when they get a little bit upset with you because you're not moving fast enough, or you're not going straight back to your vehicle like you came in,
Right.
and they get a little bit upset.
We went to this one place recently, and the entire time we were there was absolutely no sound.
Yeah.
We hiked, what, 2 miles?
Yeah.
And there was no sound. No birds, no chirping, no nothing, no bugs, no nothing.
Yeah, I took a picture of this one tree that was interesting. And we come back, about half that tree that broke apart had moved to the other side.
Yeah.
You could check the
They
photos
moved the
out.
tree.
They moved the tree. Yeah.
We saw one lone deer.
Yeah. And it was limping.
And it was limping.
You know, the thing is, I tell you something too that I've come to realize, years ago, I remember when I got into the Bigfoot research, used to see these paintings of, the Bigfoot, and they'd be through the woods, and the coyotes would be like the family dog, and all this sort of business. And one thing that and I still have people tell me, oh man, Bigfoot, coyotes, they love each other. Let me tell you,
No.
coyotes smashed against trees, thrown against the ground, thrown up trees, just literally just crushed. And we've heard them kill them during deer drought. Believe me, Bigfoot and the coyote do not get along. And they harass.
I've said this before. We were here on my front porch, which you can see right out my window behind me. We were sitting right here on the front porch doing an interview with a guy from Texas. And we were halfway through the interview. We'd only been on maybe 30 minutes. And all we heard was, and I jumped up, and the guy from Texas, he said, "What in the world was that?" I said, "That's a coyote getting killed."
Yeah.
And he said, "Dude, what?" I said, "There's a coyote just got killed." Now there's a house right down here. There wasn't no one living there at the time. And it got killed right there in the yard. And I walked to the edge of the driveway to see if I could catch them, coming around, because there's 2 big spotlights in that yard. And when I walked to the edge, all I heard was,
Mine.
Like, I got my dinner, leave me alone.
Yep.
And then the coyotes on that side of the hill started going nuts. They were freaking out. And 30 seconds later, all of them shut up.
Yeah.
See, they eat them here in West Virginia because there's so many of them. They eat them for dinner.
It sounded like a horror movie.
Yeah.
They were screaming, and the Bigfoot were roaring and screaming, and
you could tell when they'd get one.
It went on and on and on, and it was like 45 minutes, and then it started again later on. It was like there was no sleep. I mean, and that night it started with the rock clacking. It was like something was walking up to the tent, then it walked around the tent clacking rocks.
Like several of them, maybe.
Yeah. And then a stick was thrown at the tent, and then all that stuff happened.
That's the first night we
researched
together.
And then, wait, This is also the weekend where something got in the supply tent and stole his chips. They steal food from him.
They
Cookies,
do.
chips.
Yeah.
What kind of chips, Don?
Oh, they wasn't Pringles, they were Lay's, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Regular Lay's, Ruffles,
Well, what
And-
they
sour cream, barbecue. What were
were like veggie chips, like rippled veggie chips.
yeah. But they
Hmm.
but they love her
Like
they-
cookies.
yeah, they love her cookies, man.
Yeah. And coincidentally, the weekend the cookies were stolen
they? Uh-huh.
what was the weekend we went into the building. So it was just, you know,
It was a crazy week.
anytime we go anywhere to research, there's a numerous stuff happening. And it's hard to process, you know, and that's why I take videos or I'll turn the phone on because that's
Uh-huh.
I process what's happening, you know.
Right.
It's the same weekend. Oh,
Well, if you come up there, maybe you can hear the bonnet goose we got last year. You can hear the baritone uh, barred owls.
ah,
Yeah, not just one. One will answer on this
Right.
ridge, then this one will start, and then they'll move towards each other and they'll do it again. And then you'll hear another one start over on that side of the road, and none of them get out of the basement. You know how it's, ho, ho, ho.
yeah.
It ain't that way. It's ho, 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 ho.
I think
And people think, the first time my wife heard that, she's like, "What's an owl?" I said, "Honey, this is what a real owl sounds like." Because I'm a turkey hunter, so I learned how to do that owl hoot,
Yeah.
and I did it like it's supposed to be. And she's like, "Well, what's wrong with that owl? Is it sick?"
Yeah.
And I said,
Covered in-
"Well, it's kind of big, fat, and plump. Probably in the 600 to 800 pound range. Probably 7, 8, 9 feet tall, covered in hair. It ain't got feathers." And she looked at me and went, "Oh, that explains it."
yeah.
So yeah, she's experienced the baritone owls, and we've got that up there at Salt Fort before, and the bonnet goose that sounded like it was standing 10 feet from you, squawking at you as loud as it could.
Wow.
And it wasn't there wasn't no goose 10 foot from me. The
No.
swamp where they stay at night is 150 yards at the most away from the campground, the edge of the campground, not where we were standing. But it sounded like it was standing 10 feet in front of you, squawking at you.
That's what.
I'll be back in a minute. I got something to tell you what happened.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
go ahead, Celeste.
Well, you say it sounds like the bionic goose. Does that sound because it sounds metallic?
Yes,
Yeah. There's
it
one
is.
where we go that sounds he is a very I call him the old man because he's
Mhm.
a real it's almost metallic,
Right,
you know,
right.
and it's like, oh wow, you know, but now he's not as vocal. It's almost like he passed the torch because it's now two other ones answering each other instead of him. And it's so
Mhm.
like, you know, he'll if they were it was like they were sleeping one morning because they call everybody in this particular area morning. So he would let
Mhm.
howl and then the other ones would answer and then they were done. So he was doing his howl
Okay.
like metallic and nobody answered. I said, uh-oh, somebody's in trouble because they're not answering him. And all of a sudden you hear he must have took a tree and went wham, 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 wham on a tree so fast. I mean, I was like, I mean, it startled me, and I sat up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's wailing on that tree!" And then you hear him go, "Ooh," or whatever, like they just woke up.
Like he was beat off.
Yeah, he was mad because I didn't answer, and so yeah, then they answered. They must have woke up. But one time we were on a ridge, and it looked down a valley,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going to do this trail, and it's probably like 9 miles. So
Right.
we're gonna just see how far we can go. We don't really want to go up and down mountains. It's summer and it was hot, and we get out of the truck because we have to park it in a certain spot, and then you have to walk in. Get out of the truck, and Don's getting his camera gear together and all this, and I go, "Listen, do you hear that?" And we are
Snoring.
It was snoring. We could not find, but these trees are like 200 feet tall because they're coming up from the valley floor,
Right.
taller than us. And I'm like, it's got to be in these trees somewhere. And I'm whispering because I don't want to wake it. I want to get it on camera. And then all of a sudden it's like, and it stops. It must have known we were there, but it was snoring. It was sawing logs. I was like, he goes, "It's snoring." I go, "Yes, wherever it is, it's snoring."
Well, now that's kind of funny because last spring when we had a camp out there at Salt Fort. Now we go to the same group campground every time we go. One of the gentlemen that were there, and the people on my channel know who I'm talking about. He's known by Grizzly Chris, and he's a YouTuber. And he came up, and I woke up about 4 o'clock. I'm an early riser, no matter where I'm at, because at that time I fix a pot of coffee. I'll go out, build a fire in the fire pit, and grab my cup of coffee and go grab my easy chair and sit there and just relax. Just some alone time. No headaches, just to relax. Well, I come out the door of my camper and he's snoring so loud. I don't think man has built a sawmill big enough to compete with him. And I'm not kidding, because you could hear him all over the campground.
Yeah.
People said that we could hear him snoring. And I'm over building a fire, and I'm knelt down, and I'm lighting some paper that's in the fire in the pit to ignite the tinder that I put in, and the logs and everything. And I heard snap. I stood up, turned around, and about 10 feet behind his tent, behind this 5 foot, maybe 6 foot tall bush, I walked behind it, and it was about right here on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like 5'10", 5'10" and a half, something like that now. And this big black hairy thing is facing me, and it's looking right dead at me, because now I've done stood up.
Right.
It evidently didn't know I was there, because I was blocked by the tent and there was no smoke. I hadn't made a lot of noise, but his snoring covered it up. And
He was mad.
they come over to see what or who was snoring so loudly.
Yeah.
I believe that's what it came over there for. And then when I stood up and turned around and looked at it, and I took a step to the right, it focused on me, and then I took a step towards it, and it spun and went running. And at the edge of the hill, it's 30 feet down to the road.
Yeah. But that's nothing for them.
No, it jumped clear across a 20-foot road,
Wow.
and I heard its 1 foot, and I believe it was the heel, hit the gravel on the other side, and I heard it hit the water, and it was gone. And I went down there later and looked, and sure enough, there's this right where it came off. On the far side of the road, there was a scuff mark about 6 or 8 inches long,
Wow, that's cool.
and and it woke him up because here I am. I'm in the woods trying to chase this kitty cat. Stop! She's got to be in the picture somehow. She's
Yeah.
a camera hound cat. So, anyways, I'm in the woods. It startles him. He falls out of bed. He's jumping up, grabbing his handgun, thinking he's being attacked. He comes out of the tent and he turns around behind the tent and looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Your snoring attracted a Bigfoot." And he looks at me and goes, "No, it did not." I said, "Yes, it did. It was standing on the other side of this bush." And he's like, "Really?" "Yeah, you might want to get something to stop your snoring, or you might attract a female Bigfoot and she'll want to pet you and hug you and squeeze you."
Yeah.
And he's like,
Take him home with her.
"Can I just stay in your camper?" No, because we had his daughter in our camper, so there wasn't no more. But anyway, I mean, stuff like that goes on. That's the place my wife's seen 3 little ones.
Aw.
10 minutes later, I saw the big female.
Oh,
And then the very next night, we had a big male that was huffing and growling and stomping its feet at us because I did a howl. So,
yeah, they don't like it when you talk back.
well, I was pretty much telling him he was a low life, you know what,
Oh,
and he didn't like it, and he come over and um, he just come over and he let everybody know he was there, and he come right to the edge of the trail, right there, just in the dark, and you could see the dark figure, but you couldn't see no detail.
right.
And everybody kind of at this point had got up and backed away, and they were all standing over behind me, and I got up out of the chair and I walked over and did a big huff, and he decided maybe I don't want to mess with that other Bigfoot, and I'll just go this way towards the swamp. And then a female whooped at him from up the road, and he went to her. So yeah, we've had experiences in the campground itself.
One time I got a fishing buddy named James.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, we were talking about Bigfoot. And I said, I tell you what, I'll take you to a place that's got some Bigfoot. He said, really? I said, yeah, I'll take you there. So we went ahead. We're going to do some overnight camping for, a few days. Maybe go down on the Green River and maybe do some fishing. But anyway, we was out there and it got dark. We was talking, shooting the bull a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, man, there was this, I mean, this beautiful howl, man. And probably about 100 yards away. I mean, just you couldn't have a better howl than that.
Right.
And he said, "Oh shit!" He said, "What's that?" I said, "That's a Bigfoot." And it howled again. And he said, "You got your gun on you?" I said, "I always carry a gun." I said, "You have?"
Right.
He said, "No." Well, about 10 minutes later, that come out of the southwest.
Okay.
Okay. Well, about 10 minutes later, there's another big howl. I mean, a long howl this time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It come from the northeast. And he said, he must have moved. Well, about right after he said that the howl from the other one come through. And I said, "Oh hell, James!" I said, "There's two of them." Oh man, he just totally freaked out. Well, he got a little dome tent, right?
Right.
Right over next to mine.
Okay.
And so I said, "Well, we might as well turn in." And so I went got in my tent. James got in his tent. About 10 minutes later, I heard him get out of the tent. He got in his truck. Shut and locked the doors. He just totally he ain't been out since. I mean,
Oh,
out Bigfoot since.
Well, he went with us.
Oh yeah, he went with us once.
And
Yeah,
he got in the truck.
and he got in the truck. Oh yes. Oh man. But yeah, that was a good time too, because we found a lot of tracks and found some structures.
Well, that was the night the tree walked away.
Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty good evidence when a tree walks away.
Yeah, we just up and walked away.
But yeah, we've had some times, ain't we, kiddo?
Yeah.
Oh, girl,
Mm-hmm.
had some time.
Yep.
So
It's an adventure.
Yeah.
let's let me ask y'all this question now, and it's I'm trying to get you to lock down on coming to Salt Fork. Come on up, and don't worry, Celeste. What happens to you, we'll protect you. We'll make sure you're safe. And if any strange thing happens, we'll document it, put it out there, and that's the way it'll be.
Well, and
Unedited.
yeah, things are up in the air right now just because of my work situation.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, how about I give you the dates? August 1st through the 24th.
Okay.
And there will be birthday cake on the 23rd because the 24th is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And we'll have ice cream. And then in October, the 2nd through the 5th, we're going to have some activities planned, Bigfoot calling contest. And on Saturday, we're going to make a very big pot of chili.
Oh, cool.
And you're more than welcome to eat. Come and eat and join us and have all the food you want, whatever you want to do.
Here's Ari, Bigfoot expert.
It looks like a pretty good one.
Yeah. I gotta let him out. I gotta go let him out real quick.
Okay.
You're done. I'll get it.
You're looking for the charger? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Let me let him out.
Okay.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, we like to go. They had a company took over where she's working at. She's not sure if they're going to keep people there or not.
Oh, well, that's not good to hear at all. And she's probably excellent at her job, and
yep.
And they'll hire some young pumpkin that don't know the job.
Hopefully not. We're hoping not. But oh, yeah, we just have to find out next. Should find out next few weeks. Really, huh?
But we would love to have you. Love to have you come up. And don't worry, we'll do investigations at night. We'll do investigations in the day.
Going dark again.
And we'll just have a fun time at it. I mean,
going dark.
I understand.
There we go. I have to save the phone. my battery's dying.
I understand. Well, it's been almost 2 hours.
Well, we've had a great time.
We always enjoy it. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I enjoyed. I mean, you've pretty much blown my mind this evening on things that's happened to y'all. And Celeste, I don't believe it's your fault. It just kind of happens when you're around.
And she tells me she don't believe in the paranormal.
I don't.
So
well, no, I don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
because that's
Right.
for other things, and I don't want anything to do with
I'm
it.
glad you don't want anything to do with it.
So, Donna, Celeste, if you don't mind, I want to thank you both for coming back. This has been an eye-opening and a very, very fun evening, and
Well,
I thank you for that.
Well, we've had fun too. We enjoy it. We look forward to it, and it kind of helps us to express some of the things that happened to us and maybe perspective.
A lot of times we're hesitant about telling things because a lot of people just,
poo-poo it.
Yeah. But, actually, we spend quite a bit of time in the field. We go, like, we're going to be gone like for 4 days here.
Mm-hmm.
But we go for days at a time and what have you, and go different places and what have you. And so we see a lot of things.
If we ever go to that building, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll find out about that building.
If you find out about the building and let me know, and we'll set up a date, and I'll come down, and heck, I'll walk in. Don't worry, I'll be protected.
Well, thankfully we were, but like I said, there's just something has changed.
Yeah, it's just really odd.
And we just go with the flow, and
Right.
what we and I can't stress enough that as a community we work together for positive feedback with each other, and stop the backbiting, and stop the the ego. There's no
I think what the deal is you got several huge groups that think they run everything. They own everything and they control.
And here's the thing, okay, we talked about this earlier. Nature can pick up on your intentions.
Yes, they can.
And if you go in with ill intent and you treat people with ill intent, you're not going to have success.
Mm-mm.
Nature will make it.
Yep.
So
it happens quite often.
But we enjoyed it, and we, I don't know about August, but we can try in October.
We want to, and if we can, we will. And yeah, we'd like to. We talk about that.
I know I've got things at the end of August too that I'm committed to, but we'll.
Right. Well, I understand. I mean, you got prior commitments. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I would not expect you to give up something just to come up and and go big fitting with me. I don't expect that. I would not ask that of you. If you can make it in October, you find a way to come in October. Yeah. We would love to have you.
Would you with us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we was thinking about maybe having a camp out or something somewhere.
Oh, let me know.
Yeah.
As long as I am able to get there, I will be there. Let me know when, where, and how long you want to go.
Okay.
I got vacation time I can burn.
Okay. Okie dokie. Yeah, we'll try to do that. It seemed like it'd be a lot of fun. And,
yeah, well, don't worry, Celeste. I'll make sure nothing strange happens to you.
Oh, I'm worried about you.
Don't worry.
I'm
the crazy one. Everybody thinks I'm crazy and lost my mind and all this stuff. And
Well,
I don't pay any attention to that stuff. It don't bother me.
but Don has learned what it's like.
That's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. You just got to get used to it. It took me a while. It took me a while to get used to it. But I mean,
Right.
If you go back and watch the video of the tree thing, it's pretty funny because he like literally runs away.
I just like, oh, hell no. But it's just, I don't know. You just, there's a lot of things in the world that people don't know. And I'm one of them. I mean, I'm always learning things, it seems like. And like I say, I used to be an average, what I call an average everyday Bigfoot researcher,
Yep.
Pretty, the flesh and blood type Bigfoot type thing and all that, and didn't know anything about the little people or I've had several encounters with the dog people, and I'm still killed or eaten or anything. And like fished it.
If it is the dogman that we run into, it always runs away.
Yeah, and
yeah,
the thing is, I like the land between the lakes. I have fished ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was a child. Yeah.
We gotta let you go. We're sorry we're over 2 hours. We'll just keep talking.
No. I'm fine. I have no problem.
Anyway,
the only thing my concern was, you said your phone was dying. I didn't want you to go. Okay.
I can only do one thing, so the lamp.
Yeah, but been down there for decades and decades, and
right.
Camping, fishing, hiking, all up and down. And I probably know more about the land between the lakes than anybody.
Right.
And never, ever was I ever attacked by a dog man. Seen a dog man or nothing. I mean, so much crap out there. And it's just, but people make money on it. And as long as people make money on it, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, I guess.
Well, they keep making scripted things so terrifying.
Yeah.
They want it to be terrifying, and it doesn't need to be. I mean, we had them watch. I think we told you the story the last time. We had them watch over us one night during a storm.
Yeah.
And then
I remember.
Another time during an ice storm.
We seen one walk, like where we was at. We seen one walk right across, right in front of the woods, and I mean, the only thing we could think of is they were watching over us.
Yeah.
Right.
And even though, well, she told us last time about how they strung the lights around the tent. Off the tent, But like I say, kind of make these things so hideous and man-killing monsters and all. I'm not saying some of them ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But what I'm saying is why, we've been doing this. She's been doing it all of her life. I've been doing it for 23 years. And, I haven't run any of that. Hell, they've gifted us. We've gifted them. I mean, it's just crazy. I just,
I'm more scared of the little people than I am.
Yeah, really. The little people is scary.
Yeah, if they grabbed me by the lips, I would definitely not like that. That would be a scary situation.
It was, yeah. But since I gift them when I go there, we haven't had an issue.
Yeah.
We just, I mean, and in fact, before we did this, I would go out to a barrier. What I felt was a barrier where they were saying, this is our side, that's your side. I would leave the trail mix on it, so they know my signature. You know what I mean? Because I knew they saw me. And so they know that when they see that particular trail mix, it's from me. I took a shell and I left it in the shell and stuff like that. And then there was a tree where they had been putting stuff in this hollowed out tree. And so I put chocolate in it. and it was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I know other things could have taken it, but they were particular about what they were putting inside of it.
One thing that I've noticed about the little people is that where they're at, we don't see coons and possums and
No.
things. I think they run them off.
Yeah, we camped there several times, and I've never seen a coon or a possum.
Groundhog?
Nothing.
Nothing. I think
No
Do they run them off or do they eat them?
no coyotes or coyote poop or coyote tracks.
Yeah.
Huh.
We have seen Bigfoot tracks, Bigfoot structures, but we haven't seen any of them other critters either. So there you go.
Yeah, that's different.
Just another observation.
But this particular place has where you can tent camp, and you can even bring a camper along the river, so you're right on the water.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
We like being around water.
Well, that's because that's
Yeah.
But
That's just because he's wanting to throw the fishing line in there and catch a big fish.
Yep. And he does.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I appreciate you guys coming back. I've had a wonderful time. And like I said, you blew my mind on some of that stuff. And I'm like,
Well,
I can't figure the building I can't figure out. See, I'd never ever dealt with anything of the little people, and hearing about that stuff, it's got me inquisitive now about them. So I'm going to have to start looking into that. And
well, we'd be interested in any feedback you get from this, letting us know what other people.
I'd be glad if anybody
Yeah.
if anybody wants to put a comment on the video or they want to get in contact with me, I'll forward it right straight to you.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have an explanation that we haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And that, that kind of happening. I don't know if you ever watched, I don't want to promote it. Yeah. I mean, Skinwalker Ranch. That's that show ever since. Just because it's like, okay, weird things don't just happen to me.
Right. Well, there's been, I mean, I've gotten some strange phone calls from here in the mountains of West Virginia, back in deep in the hollers, and where guys go in and go deer hunting every year, and all of a sudden strange things start happening, and they want you to come and find out, and you go and you don't find any Bigfoot evidence. So how do you explain it?
Right.
So I don't. I mean, I have no explanation.
Drones.
And
Fishing.
Oh yeah.
So
we saw 3 drones the other day.
Well, that we weren't sure what they were. They would disappear in the sky and then reappear, disappear, reappear, disappear, and reappear.
They were metallic.
We think they were cloaked.
And then they would, they were. She said, "Don, look at that." And I looked up there. I didn't see them at first, and I looked, and then finally I seen them, and they looked metallic, and then they disappear, and then a few seconds later, 15, 20 seconds later, they'd reappear.
And they change formations.
Yeah.
They were they were flying very fast, and they were zipping back.
right.
And I just happened to be looking up in the sky. We were fishing, and I'm like, "What is that?" And they were way up there too. So
yeah,
that was our latest weird thing.
No.
That's different. That is weird.
Well, I can't say that they're drones because I don't know what they were, but they didn't look like they were anything I've seen before.
Right.
Say they were metallic, like silver in color.
Yeah, they would. It's kind of like, how sharks are dark on the top and light on the bottom.
Right.
Looks up, and that's what they were. They were, one side was one thing, one side was the other. It was weird. And I tried to get a picture, but I couldn't get a picture of them. They were too far up, and I couldn't get the camera in the right spot.
That's understandable. I mean, if something like that appears and then disappears,
yeah,
it's kind of hard to predict where they're going to be at any one moment.
Yeah, so it just keeps happening, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if we're just minding our own business.
But we have a lot of fun doing what we do. So
Right. And that's the name of the game, is to have fun at it.
yeah,
It's the adventure of a lifetime.
yeah.
So I guess we're going to end the show, and let me know if you guys can make it in October. We'll make sure we got enough to feed Dawn the whole time. Celeste probably eats like a little bird or something, knowing her.
Oh,
Um, so, but if you like fried potatoes, sausage, bacon, biscuits, eggs, you'll fit right in.
That's what I like.
So, see, Don's going to fit right in. Celeste, is there anything in
Oh.
particular you would like to have?
I can eat.
She can.
I like food.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll set another two more places. We'll reserve two more places for
What
both
about-
of you in October.
Don will probably go in August.
Well, come on up. We got cake and ice cream on Saturday. So, like I said, thank you guys for coming back. It has been a very informative and eye-opening evening with you two.
We appreciate you listening.
Anytime anytime you want to come back, just give me a shout. I'd be glad to bring you on.
For having us on.
It's been my pleasure. So we're going to end the show. These guys have got to get their phone charged, and they got to head off to bed probably to go out and do something tomorrow, just like I got to do. So thank you again, both of you.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
All right. Say hello to everybody for us.
Will.
See you
All
later.
right, we'll see you guys. Well, everybody, that concludes tonight's show with Team Peak and their strange encounters out Bigfooting. We thank you all for coming, and may God bless each and every one of you, each and every moment or minute of your day, and for the rest of your life. Thank you all. Get to know him and hold him close. Bye-bye now.